In this lecture, we're going to talk about user stories. What are user stories? User story is a simple description of a product feature that is written from end user's point of view. That means whenever we're writing this product increment, we are thinking about the customer. Now let's look at how do we capture this user story and what is captured in the user stories. The first thing that you want to look at is the who. Who is the user? What kind of customers are they? This helps developers to really think about and empathize with the customer who's actually going to be using this software. When we deliver this product increment, what will we empower our customers to do? What is their goal? And then the last thing that we want to capture in this user story is why. What kind of value will it bring if we are able to deliver this user story to the customer? Let's look at a format that most of the companies use. As a user or type of a user, I want a goal. I want to solve a certain kind of problem, or that is more for what. The third piece of the user story is so that I can achieve some value or why. So the who, what, and why can be captured by using this format of the user story. Now let's look at how do we write a good user story. Is user story just a requirement document or something that replaces the requirement document? User story is not a document. User story is more of a conversation. It's a lightweight description of what the user might want in this software. There's a really neat way of thinking about a user story, and this is an acronym called 3Cs. 3C stands for card, conversation, and confirmation. If you look at the first step, card, this really means that product owner, after he talks to the customer or the stakeholders, comes back to the team with a 3x5 card that captures who, what, and why. And this is just a high-level need of the user. Remember how there is not a lot of description added or a lot of time spent in documentation. This is just a 3x5 card that just only has a necessary piece of information, and that's brought to the team where the conversation actually happens. So that's the second piece, conversation. Team members and product owner discuss about this card. Okay, who is this user story for? You say this is a first-time patient? Great. What do they want? What kind of problem are we solving? So that's where we discuss who, what, and why. This really helps developers to understand how they want to build this product increment. The third step is confirmation. The team will then go talk to the product owner. The development team is confirming that what they have understood is same as what product owner or customers have in mind, just to avoid any confusion. So by just going through these three things, card, conversation, and confirmation, you can write a quality user story. Acceptance criteria are simple notes or conditions added to the user story that tells what the user story must do so that it can satisfy the need of the customer that is defined by the product owner. It should be clear, concise, and product owner should be able to verify it. We talked about the 3Cs. Acceptance criteria shows up in the confirmation phase where team members and product owner are collaboratively discussing and coming to an agreement on the acceptance criteria of the user story. Again, these conditions of acceptance statements are known as acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria enriches the user story by making it testable, and also it ensures the story by making it demoable to the stakeholders or the product owners or the external customers. Product owner writes the acceptance criteria and brings them to the team, and they decide and come to a common agreement on what acceptance criteria should be part of that user story. So let's look at an example. Using our very simple user story format, we're going to define who, what, and why. As a new student, I want to be able to create a new account on theagilecoach.com so that I can enroll into a course. This is a very simple story. How can we add more details and how can we make this story more testable and clear? Well, we can add 3 acceptance criteria in this that defines the entry method. Create an account through LinkedIn, create an account through Google, and create an account through Facebook. These 3 conditions are very specific. These are 3 login and account creation portals, and it's really easy for developers to understand. They need to integrate with these 3 platforms and allow the new students to log in and create accounts from these 3 social media platforms. Lastly, you want to remember these 3 things. Acceptance criteria should be testable with clearly defined pass-fail results. The acceptance criteria should be clear and concise. Developers should be able to understand it. No poetic language or philosophical statements, just to avoid any confusions. And acceptance criteria is established with shared understanding between the team and the product owner. One might ask a question, how many acceptance criteria per user story? This is totally up to teams. I recommend teams write anywhere between 3 to 7 acceptance criteria. And it's more than that, they can always split that user story into 2. Let's look at a technique called INVEST, and we are going to look at this acronym to write quality user stories. Usually most of the people, when they think of a user story, they just think of this simple format. As a user, I want this goal so that I can achieve this. You can compare this to an analogy of an iceberg. That is just the tip of the iceberg. Most of the value comes when you can pay attention to the INVEST acronym of the user story. What do I mean by that? Let's look at these guidelines on writing great user stories. The first one is independent. Independent just means that when you're writing a user story, you don't have any dependency with any other user story, and a team can pick it and get it to done without having to depend on any other user stories. The second one is negotiable. Whenever product owner or product manager is coming to the team and he's bringing the card based on his understanding of the needs and the goals of the users, this user story should be negotiable. Meaning once after talking to the team, if the product owner has a better idea, this user story should be flexible so that it can change and adapt to the needs of the user. The third one is valuable, that this user story has some concrete value to the users. The fourth one is estimatable. This just means if you have a user story, you should have some idea on how much complexity this story has. The fifth thing is small. It should be small enough for team members to finish this in a few days. And the last thing is testable. Whenever you're writing a user stories, you should be able to test that user story. And if you pay attention to these 6 things, you will be able to come up with great user stories. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. We will sure to come back with more exciting videos on Agile topics.